What's up, everyone? Grayson the Dean 221 Nichols here, as always, on the Elite Rounders YouTube channel, going over the most recent episode of Poker After Dark, running every Monday night on Poker Go. This was another good episode, pretty cool lineup. There's some stuff I really wanted to talk about with you guys today, but first, I want you to go ahead and like and subscribe. Really helps us out when you guys do that, and then when you subscribe, you'll see all my new videos as they pop up, and anything that we do, any of our free content, you guys will get to see it first. So, not to quote one of my favorite online poker players, Will Jaffe, Dankness3, great follow on Twitter. It's time to have a tough conversation, everyone. And that conversation here is people don't bluff the river. Let me repeat that. People don't check, raise, bluff the river, right? I've played probably like 6 million hands in my life, and I think I've been check, raise, bluff on the river a handful of them, right? They typically have the nuts, and oftentimes we level ourselves to think that we might be good, and we don't find the fold, right? But I really got to tell you guys, people just don't check, raise, bluff the river. So I want to talk about this hand in particular involving pretty tough professional, this guy Jeremiah Williams, and a pretty tough amateur player, rec player, this guy Ball, who was playing really well in the last episode last week. Definitely, again, check it out on Poker Go. And so the way this hand worked was there was a small raise pre-flop to 600, 5 people called. Flop was just a total cooler. We got top 2 pair for Ball, and Jeremiah flops the bottom set. Jeremiah goes for the old rope-a-dope the whole way. Check call, check raise all in on the river, basically, right? And to me, I don't think there's a stronger looking line you could take, right? Now, eventually we're going to get to a point in poker where people are going to start taking this line as a bluff against thinking players because of exactly what I'm saying, right? Because it looks so strong, because it is so seldom ever bluff. But for now, especially in the games most of you all are going to be playing, it's incredibly rare a person takes a line like this as a bluff. So you need to use that to your benefit and find huge folds in these spots, right? Now, I'm not necessarily saying that this is definitely a fold, but I think these are the spots where you can find a way out, essentially, right? So there's the raise pre-flop. They both flop, pretty huge. Jeremiah checks, Ball bets 1500, Jeremiah calls. Turn gives Ball a flush draw as well, strengthening his holding even more. Jeremiah again goes for a check call. Ball bets 2500, Jeremiah calls. River's the king, right? Jeremiah checks a third time. Ball bets 7500 for value. And then Jeremiah check raises all in for around $25,000, I believe. Yeah, 23,500 here. And so, this is where the real discussion comes. Like, what hands would Jeremiah be bluffing here, right? Now, he is a really tough professional. So there is the small chance that he could have stuff like, Queen, Jack of Diamonds, right? And he's turning it into a bluff right now. But I think that's really out there. I don't think you're going to run into that often. And I think the more we consider that as in the range of outcomes, we end up just paying off people in spots where they just have value most of the time, right? A good rule of thumb for you guys, something I always tell my students, if you bet bigger on the river, you provide yourself more of an off ramp to escape, right? Say Ball had just bet like 4,800 on the river, something kind of cheesy, and then Jeremiah moves all in. Well, now I wouldn't be nearly as comfortable in the idea of possibly folding because I think Jeremiah might sense a little malfeasance with Ball's little bet. Maybe he's not super strong. Maybe he could take him off a certain hand, right? So now bluffing comes into the purview. Now there's a chance he might be full of it, right? So, but I think when Ball goes big on the river, like 7,500, and then Jeremiah moves on for 23K, I think it really minimizes his bluff range, right? So the thing I really want you all to take from this is that if you are in a spot like this on the river, if you bet a little bit larger, perhaps, than you were going to originally, it will be easier for you to find an escape route if your opponent check raises you. And again, people seldom check raise the river as a bluff, okay? So just remember that. People are not check raising you in the river as a bluff very often. So when it checks to you, you bet, and they check raise all in, you got to make big folds in these spots, Ball has 2 pair here, which is a strong hand, but it is just a bluff catcher. There is no value hand that Jeremiah would do this with that's worse. So he is only beating bluffs. So he's going to have to see a Jack 9, Jack Queen type holding here for this call to make sense. And I think a lot of times people struggle at separating themselves from their face value of their hand and looking at the relative value, right? And what I mean by that is even though 2 pair is a really strong hand, it only beats bluffs here, right? So it's really not much different than him having a king, even a 10 at this point, right? So really interesting hand. Again, definitely recommend you guys check these episodes out on Poker Go. We will be doing a new episode every Tuesday morning, recapping these, and a little spoiler alert for next week. We have possibly the most awful person in the poker world, Dan Bilzerian, making his television debut on Poker After Dark with some other cool customers. Like we got, I think Steve Aoki is on there too, and a couple other like quasi celebrities. So should be an interesting game. Gonna be fun to kind of look at Dan's some of his hands, since the guy acts like he's such a good poker player and stuff, and we all are quite dubious about that assertion. But this was a fun lineup on Poker After Dark. Definitely enjoyed these episodes. And also, check out coming out this Thursday morning our first video on The Duel 2. We are getting Phil Hellmuth against Daniel Negreanu, one-on-one matchup. Really stoked to watch that. Hit the subscribe button. You'll see that video pop up Thursday morning right when we get it up. And yeah, just hope you guys enjoyed this one. And remember, they don't check, raise, bluff the river. Good luck this week, everyone. See y'all soon for The Duel.